The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good yawning this morning, and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It's Thursday, the 19th of June, 2025, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. It is Juneteenth. It is the day where our American brothers and sisters, our cousins, celebrate their emancipation. That song, of course, was Lift Every Voice and sang by another cousin, our Bahamian brother Lyndon Johnson, right? I may or may not get that right. Of course, I'm not looking at my phone because I'm the one who sent it to the producer. Furthermore, I supposed to know. These are the things we're supposed to know this the way we know the current price of fritters. The way we know the current price of gas. Anyway, this morning, I'm continuing my conversation with Mr. Thompson about, again, the conversation we're having. We're going to go through that event briefly. But the purpose of the conversation, right, is to examine, to interrogate the incoherence and unintelligibility of popular narratives that create cycles of dysfunction within Bahamian society. It is an exercise that demands that we confront dysfunctional narratives, lies, and secrets that have collectively been avoided for generations. We're going to be talking about the things that we don't talk about out loud, but haunt us daily. And we're going to be talking about this thing called epistemic injustice. It sounds really fancy, but it's not. Epistemic injustice refers to a wrong done to someone specifically in their capacity as a knower or someone who has knowledge. It involves a devaluation of someone's knowledge, experiences, or contributions to knowledge due to prejudice or social biases. This can manifest as a lack of credibility given to their testimony or a failure to recognize their contributions to knowledge production and understanding. Because it's June 19th, right? I've invited Latino Thompson to continue the conversation with me. June 19th is an extremely important day on this side of the world, in the Western Hemisphere, in the global North, but we could see with the arrival of the Trump administration, there have been overt moves to invisibilize African American stories in the story of America. One of Trump's first moves was he said he's going to shut down the African American, Smithsonian African American Museum of History, right? We know that within the military complex in various spaces, information about decorated and celebrated African Americans and their contribution to the military complex, right, and to America have been invisibilized. In some instances, not removed entirely, right, but removed from places of prominence and spotlights. And I mean, for many people, this is just, it is perceived as an attempt to erase or rewrite history, right? And it appears as if that POTUS is attempting to create a narrative that is politically expedient for him or his administration. But for it to succeed, for that narrative to become truth, right? For it to become truth, it has to be regarded as fact by a majority of people, right? Like he has to hit that narrative has to hit a critical mass where the majority of people accept it as true. And when that happens, the balance shifts, right? And then the truth becomes relegated as myth or conspiracy or outright lies. But how do you do that? Is it possible to erase the contributions of African Americans to America?
Yeah.
Now, here's a similar question that's pertinent to us. Would it be possible to erase the contributions of Bahamians to America? And how would we feel about that if there were no Conkville, no recognition of the contract, no recognition of the ways in which Bahamians built America? Good morning, Latino. How are you?
Good morning, Bahamas, and good morning, Erin. I'm good. I'm here, doing the 1-2 and trying the best I can with what I got.
Listen, I started the show with Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Okay.
That's Lyndon Johnson, right?
James Weldon Johnson.
James Weldon Johnson. That's a Bahamian, right?
Yeah, he's a Bahamian.
See?
He's a Bahamian American.
Yeah, we call him imagine if America declared that boy had nothing to do with the Bahamas. He's an American only. That song has nothing to do with the Bahamas, and Bahamians can't claim it.
Well, there are a fringe group, African Americans, the FBAs, ADOS.
Okay.
They've been arguing that certain contributions by Caribbean migrants shouldn't count because they're trying to get reparations for them. Only them.
African descent,
American descent
of slaves?
Of African slaves or something to that effect. Yeah, because the language, it gets very muddy.
And let's contextualize it for a second. A few years ago, that organization looked at Dr. Umar Johnson and told him, buddy, you have a relative from Cuba. You do not qualify as a pure blood. Let's use the Bahamian language, right? They tell Dr. Umar Johnson that he is not an organic African American.
I was just going to say that's our equivalent of the COI and some of their rhetoric, and this is why it's dangerous. Not everything that Lincoln says is wrong, right? You can have some truths baked in there, but the narrative it can be very dangerous. And I said this to him face to face when I had a conversation with him.
Right, especially if you refuse to delve into it only on the surface.
Yeah,
right?
Because
let's talk about that.
Because what you're talking about with Trump, right? The reason why he can get away with it is because he's appealing to the base, and his base would be those rural communities of white people who are disenfranchised, who are poor. The same way that we don't recognize that there are poor Bahamian whites here, right? Or poor white Bahamians here. Not every white person is rich, right? They have people within their families who are living in poverty. And that is the base, right? That Trump is appealing to, his dog whistling to. It's this whole. That's why the minute you heard "Make America Great Again," that meant, listen, we want to make it white as snow, right? And that's problematic because you're going backwards, you're regressing, right? The reason why you have DEI.
That's diversity, equality,
and inclusion, right? The reason why you have those programs is because historically there have been legislation literally put in place to disenfranchise, to like for example redlining, right, where you couldn't get the housing policies. And the thing is, one of the things I don't think that we understand is you don't have to look to America. There are things that have been happening right here in the Bahamas. There are policies enacted to ensure that poor Bahamians, poor Black Bahamians cannot get, right, to a level of affluence or wealth.
Or limitations to access to systems, right? And I think one of the most prevalent or problematic is the costs associated with the courts. If you want, like the cost for a judicial review, if you want to go...
Lawyer.
Right, well, the cost for
a lawyer.
Right.
Right? How do you do that on 260?
And for a country that has I would say a significantly large proportion of lawyers,
Yes.
Or number of lawyers.
Yes.
Per capita, 2,000 plus, I think it is.
The rate should go down.
The rate should go down.
With that saturation.
Right. Or I should see more legal aid services, legal aid clinics.
Yeah. But
available.
But let's talk about it. I think it was the defenders. I can't remember the name of the department, but the defending Department of Public Defenders. I think it is Public Defenders Department, whatever that is. I can't remember the exact name right now. But Public Defenders, right? That was started in 2016, 2017. That's late.
Oh yeah.
Hold up. That means that for 40 some whenever that was, because 2016 would have been what, 47. For 47 years, there were Bahamians who could not get
42.
42. There could not. There are Bahamians that did not receive representation. And watch this. They only represent. I think public defenders. They are only given in capital crimes. So it has to be murder or some kind of big thing. You don't get a public defender, and that's not how. Watch this. That means that there's still inequity and inequality in the judicial system. Never mind that I don't think that we can even call our judicial system. Obviously I'm a researcher and I can say these things with kind of an acumen. I don't think you can't call what we do here justice. I can't call it that. But I can't. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and then think about the sort of cognitive dissonance that people live in when you've had access to American media, right, for decades. I've been watching TV from I was in second grade. I mean, like, I was a full-fledged, qualified TV watcher from second grade. So growing up, watching and listening to the American justice system and hearing things about public defenders and having rights and this and that, but then you actually live in a system where those things don't
exist
or don't function the way
they should.
They should.
Yeah.
I find it. I feel like we don't take into account the extent to which that fractures people, right? And young people in particular, that you live here, but what you consume, media, psychologically, what you're consuming is from foreign. It is foreign. And then we see with older people and younger people, these expectations, right? Mm-hmm. That what you've seen is going to actually happen where you are. And that's so, it's so problematic. And then we are so susceptible, right, to marketing. Like when we talk about the loom, when we talk about fraud and scam, right, we could see it more clearly. We're very susceptible people. In other places, I see it as how easily we pick up trends and habitualize trends and things we see happening outside of us, right? It's almost as if being Bahamian has become a ghost because we're not Bahamian.
Well, so you remember you said, I want to go back. Remember you said it seems as if Trump is trying to do something with the narrative, right? He's
creating a narrative that's politically expedient to him. It caters to his base voters, and not just it's what they want to hear, but it riles them up to a point where they're generating energy for his campaign and his administration.
Successive governments have done the same here.
Oh,
yeah, right? See, so I keep bringing it back to us, right? I keep bringing it back to us because, and whenever I have conversations, people will be like, well, this is not only happening in the Bahamas, it's happening in the Caribbean. And while that may be well and fine, I live here. So I'm very much concerned about what we're doing, because if it doesn't make sense to me, and if it's harming us as a people, then I have to be concerned about that.
All right. I got a text here. It says, excuse me, your guest is out of order attacking Lincoln. Stick a pin. If the critique that Natino offered,
and that was nice,
is an attack, then accuse me of doing the same thing. If the critique that was offered is an attack, first of all, accuse me of doing the same thing. Second, it says, don't compare him, an organic Bahamian. Don't compare him. Don't compare him to what? First of all, he's offering for leadership. He will be compared to everything and anything. He has become a politically exposed person. His life is in the spotlight. Let's get that. Don't call here and attack people or engage us in that manner because we're having a critical conversation interrogating local politics, right? Don't do that. That's unnecessary. The text goes on. An organic Bahamian is a Bahamian with both parents that are Bahamian through blood and DNA, not papers. We are not all the same. So pause. Let's stick a pin there. There's no such thing as Bahamian blood.
Yes.
Now, see, because Bahamian is a nationality. It is a political construct, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to talk about through blood, then we talk about ancestry, we talk about ethnicity, we talk about lineage, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I think Juneteenth, this conversation, right, is so important. Nationality is a political construct, the same way that race is a political construct. Mm-hmm. Ancestry is real. Mm-hmm. DNA is real, right? So that trope is faulty. It says, we are not all the same tribe just because we are black and no other country. There are Chinese Bahamians, American Bahamians. So where did this Haitian Bahamian come from? Of course, there are Chinese Bahamians. There are Bahamians. They are Bahamian. Right? Their nationality is Bahamian. Their ethnicity is Chinese. Except when you go into China, right? Like you say, I'm glad you say that we're not all one tribe. When you go into China, you realize that China is also a diverse group of tribes, right?
Or ethnic groups.
And ethnic groups. And there is a political narrative that defines all Chinese as one people.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. In the same way that y'all want a political narrative that defines Bahamian people as one type of people.
But that's where our conversation comes in, right? This is what we're trying to have on July 3rd, right? The conversation is about, okay, there are these narratives, right, about being Bahamian. And the issue is that these narratives they're not coherent. Mm-hmm. They don't make sense. Right, and the reason why they don't make sense is because they're benefiting only a small group of Bahamians.
Mm-hmm. Let's take it like a level up.
Okay.
At the intragovernmental level.
Okay.
When you go to the OAS, when you go to the UN, when you go to the G7 meeting, right? When you go to all these high-level meetings, not at the meeting table, but in the back rooms, right? Yeah. In the places where men and women do the real dialoguing. Mm-hmm. How you all think they refer to the Bahamas? I can tell you how they refer to the Bahamas. Are they Britain's Bahamas? Are they America's Bahamas? You see America tell the Bahamian government, don't become Chinese, says Bahamas? Right? I believe personally that the US and China came together and told the Bahamas, y'all don't be the Middle East's Bahamas. Bye-bye, Bahama. I just say, that's me. That's what I'd be thinking about when I talk into raccoons. But we're defining or attempting to figure out how we define ourselves. At the supranational level, these people talk about us in ways that are politically expedient to them, right? They have defined us for their own purpose.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about the organic Bahamian, right? I think, like you said, there's some truth.
Well, what I was saying that to some of the things that are coming out of Lincoln's mouth. So watch this. I gave him a little bit of credit. To be honest with you, like I said, I had a conversation with him. Number one of the things I do is I don't just if someone disagrees with me, I don't just throw them out. Yeah. But I don't just get rid of them out of my mind. That's not what I do. As a critically thinking person, that would be very ignorant of me. So I listen to what you say. I may not agree with anything that comes out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. And so we had a conversation, and he said some things, and I realized, at least from the conversation that we were having, that there's this consistent problem that I think happens with a lot of Bahamians, that they're often using words that they don't really understand what they actually mean, right? And this is where I think language is important. And we go back to the construct of what language can do. Remember, we were talking about this yesterday about Bahamian dialect, right? And that whole idea about organic Bahamian, there's no such thing. That doesn't exist, right? That's something that Lincoln coined because Lincoln is trying to create a world where he and the rest of the people who believe in his message can live in. right? It's no different than what the PLP are doing daily, right? When they create these stories and they try to make doubt on, for example, I think we were talking about remember when we had the roof at R&Billy fell in, and
the truss.
The truss.
It wasn't the roof. It was the truss that fell.
But watch this. Everybody saw the roof fell in, right? It caved in, and the Prime Minister said, "Oh no, nothing happened." That right there, that gaslighting, because that's what you're doing. You're calling it to question the reality of things. That is how politics works,
right?
And for us to pretend as if when we elect people that they're not shaping the reality that you and I live in, and you and I agree to, is ridiculous. This is why, again, I think Trump has been successful, right? Because you talk about the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, because we're talking about that, right? And so language is important. Whoever is naming has power.
Yeah.
And power and authority comes with force.
Right.
And I'm talking about the force of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. They can enforce that, you to believe in that one reality through those mechanisms.
Right. We're going to go to the callers. We're coming to you right now, producer. Let's prep the first caller. Right. The namer has the power. Term organic, right? A lot of farmers just call their crops organic because they feel they're not putting the traditional fertilizers on it.
Yeah.
But organic is a classification. For something to be organic, it has to be certified organic. And it has to be certified by a certified organic certifier. Right?
Mm-hmm. But that organic certifier has the power. You see?
Exactly.
So the question is, who determines who's organic?
Who is the certifier?
Yeah, who's the certifier?
Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Miss Greene. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Right, you're holding on. Thank God for life with you. So that's Mr. Thompson in there again?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson, I think I told you this before.
Okay.
I think you could do good on the radio as a talk show host. I think we need to accept you just like how we accept Erin. I mean, you get emotional sometimes, just like some of us who mightn't be like that, but you deserve it. I think you have a lot to say. Sometimes you get passionate. My question today, right, Mr. Greene? I catch a little piece, so I know if you get a little open line or a topic, let me know, please.
Throw it in. It's kind of open because
what is the topic so I may call
Okay, so watch this. We're talking about this thing called epistemic injustice, where it refers to wrong done to someone specifically in their capacity as a knower or someone who has knowledge, right? So watch this. What I wanted to reference today was, in yesterday's paper, Dr. Dwayne Sands said the hospital only have 2 ambulances, right? For months and months and months, the EMTs have been saying there's a crisis in that space. The state has denied it. Mr. Nuri and I have had conversations following the stories going back 10 years about the ambulance shortage. The state denied it. But here's Dr. Sands, who is a part of the state, coming out and saying, no, that narrative is not true. We are in crisis. We have 2 ambulances, right? And it's like the voices of the knowers, in this instance, the EMTs, the people who actually drive the ambulances, were silenced because they were telling us there are no ambulances. And the authorities were telling us, no, man, that ain't no true. We got ambulances, right? So epistemic injustice may be the way that the state silenced or obfuscated the voices of those closest.
They shouldn't be allowed to get away with that, if I understand what you're saying.
Right.
They shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the drivers, them who say they have a problem.
Right.
Listen to the people who say, what you call it, not a subordinate or they boss.
Yeah.
You don't listen to them. That sound complicated, sound problematic, like you say.
Yeah.
When you break that down to me just now, you cost me remember. Tell me something. If I do you something, right? In the papers it had say somebody do something to somebody, right? And the judge gives them a fine. I wonder who the money going to. If you assault me, who the money should go to, Miss Greene? Should it go to the person who was molested or assaulted?
Okay,
or
right.
should it go to the courts? But that ain't what I call
Hold on,
it.
but you hold your thought, because that's such a fantastic space. See, because I worked with the Catholic Church, who was trying to create a space for restorative justice, right?
Yes.
which
That's what it is, restorative justice.
Right, which created justice solutions that brought the victim and the
accused.
Together to find a solution that is suitable, right? Like it
I only could say accused because I learned from you.
The perpetrator.
You get something inside of you when you get the right words of what people are trying to say.
But no man, you right, and so in that instance, like who does the money go to? If the state gets the fine, is the victim actually healed, right? And
do they feel like they got justice? I feel like they healed. I believe if we give the that funds or whatever to them, they'll feel like they get a little bit of justice.
Right, and so a lot of people would say, "Hey, you know what? We ignore the voices of the victims in the creation of law." And if we had centered them as opposed to invisibilizing them, we may have more effective penalties, right, for crime that may actually begin to shift culture. And so,
the community and culture.
Yeah.
It'll shift it. Yeah, Ms. Greene.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out from Mr. Thompson because I tell you, he's smart too. I ain't know of him like how I know of you only when he come on the radio, and my spirit take to him, Ms. Greene.
Yeah.
But I wanted to find out, it's this government, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff is happening, right? And they say stuff like infrastructure, different things, them, right? But they so secretive, man. They're so secretive. I mean, and how do you deal with that? These people, that must be the same thing with Ms. Greene talk.
I can tell you right now how
silencing the people.
You have to, we look at the lack of advancement of freedom of information, right?
Yeah, the Freedom of Information Act.
And thank you very much, Papa. Thank you very, very much. The lack of enforcement of freedom of information. We look at the public disclosure space. They're not following the law, right?
Yeah, no.
There's information that we feel that we should reasonably have access to, and there's information that we want to have access to, but we can't, right?
Public procurement.
Right. There's some stuff that can't be all revealed. The way that you deal with a government that is not making information that should be readily available, is you have to create civil society organizations, right, to do that work. So you got to form an NGO, register it, so that you could then access funding and granting internationally. There's lots of funding and granting, when I say lots, relatively lots, available for this type of work where you create an organization focused on transparency and accountability in governance, right? The problem is you may have to go to Europe for it, and that then the reporting itself becomes another job. But that's what we do. We have to form organizations. We have to do the legwork. See, this thing about cultural imperialism being so close to the U.S. and consumed by, we're coming to you right now, caller, consumed by American media and culture, is you forget that the things that people enjoy in the U.S., they worked for them for decades. I want to talk about Butelco today, specific issues, right, and IRCA. People lobbied and marched the streets and collected signatures on petitions and went to city council meetings and state meetings and board meetings, and they agitated, right, for legislation and regulations to protect the consumer and ensure certain policies are in place for consumer protection, right? Issues. We just wake up and think it gonna happen. We actually have to do the work of agitating and lobbying and forcing the government to implement the things that we think should complement or are part of this new era of technology. Let's go to the phone line quickly. Good morning, caller.
Yes, thank you, and good morning to you and your guests.
Morning, sir.
I've been on my cell phone for 8 minutes, so I hope I get at least a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My apologies.
Yes, sir. No problem. First of all, I don't think we need to go merely to Europe. We may go to Burkina Faso, to the Sahels, to even look at the honesty of Abraham Traore. You really call about the organic behemoth.
Okay.
The Constitution make no provision for that. And I would dare say, having not born in the Bahamas, married to a Bahamian, with 4 children and a grandchild, I don't think any of them are non-Bahamian. Neither myself. I'm proud to be a Bahamian.
Okay.
So I want to dispel that. And I'm not attacking any political party, even the newcomer as such, because they may have some good candidates and so on and the rest of it. But just make certain we get that right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, even you did mention about the telco and all these other places, BDC.
Yes.
No, what they and Orca and all those folks. Sometimes we talk about the government being corrupt and robbing us, but a lot of time it's also these quasi and these private entities as well. We have always been asking for a rollover of minutes when you pay for your minutes and this and that.
Yeah.
They're not giving that, but they were saying that you need a little more speed, and they'll give you more speed and even automatically increase your bill from 25%, as if you had a salary increase. So all of those things actually need to be concerned, and we also need to watch. I'm happy that you've been watching the TV news and the rest of it from 2 years old. Very good, very good. Even our children in school need to know, because sometimes we hear a voice, and the voice may be of a prominent human, but they don't recognize the voice because they don't tune in to local discourse. But I dare say that we ought to truly recognize that there is value in our people, all of us, and we need to understand that it's not just the silly season or prior to the silly season or during election season. You target and point to anyone, whether it's the Chinese, Haitian, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we need to work together and get it done.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And I received that because my paternal grandfather is from Barbados and my maternal grandfather from Turks and Caicos.
You know what's been happening? And thank you again, caller. So
Welcome.
Thank you again, caller. The caller before, I think you've said that to me before. I think I know your voice. There's a lot to unpack there, but what I want to say is that I go back to the 1920s in the Bahamas. T.A. Tooth, right?
Yeah.
R.M. Bailey, right? C.H. Reeves,
Yeah.
Anatole Rogers are not Bahamian. They're Barbadians, right? Trinidadians, Grenadians.
Yeah.
They came here.
Right. And so I coming to you.
And my
Coming
point
right now, caller.
my point is that the Bahamas is a multicultural society, right? And while we may be predominantly black, there are groups of people that have made significant contributions that have been erased.
And have been here for centuries.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the caller quickly. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. All right, the next caller. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Greene. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Now, hold on.
Yeah.
GNN, let me just slide this in here. One of the stories I have on my list for today is PHA cannot manage caseload of 600 patients receiving dialysis. And the reason I brought it into this conversation is because of you. Because you and other people for years have been bringing to the public airwaves your personal experience of the issues happening within that dialysis space. But the state presents us with a narrative that suggests that you don't know what you're talking about, right? That the people who are saying these things are not being fair, or it's just political mischief or opposition. And I wanted to use that today as an example in which the knowers, right, people with knowledge, experience, right, their voices are silenced. I just wanted to let you know that's a part of the conversation this morning also.
Well, Erin Greene, I have been dialysis, one of their better patients now for going on plus years. I really don't get sick, thank God for that, in terms of my treatment. You understand? But what Grammy to say? You know, it's this Grammy boy, this Nana boy. Grammy, they say, fish man don't call you fish stink.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So at the expense of the dialysis patients, the some of the upper-ups there, the first staff members that work there, they keep things undercover in order to make themselves look good at the expense of the patients. As a matter of fact, that treatment that went down, or the surgery that went down yesterday, half us even know. We just find out when you find out.
Yeah, no. No.
Like, you think that's right?
It's not right.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. So it is not totally true, whoever they're saying, because like I say, I live it every day. Now, indigenous.
Bahamians.
It may be in the small minority now, right? Because of like your guest is saying that this one come from that way and that one come from that way. Fine, okay, but we cannot rule out the fact that there are indigenous people to a culture, no matter where they started from, where they ended up is that point, and that they keep the traditional ways and traditions and stuff of that culture. And it might be in a small minority now, everybody coming from all over the place, Afghanistan and all that place of thing. But we cannot rule out the fact that there are indigenous people of any culture. But there are more than 300 indigenous cultures, even spread out over 70 countries in this world. You understand? Like Junkanoo, for one. That's a culture that we keep, indigenous people keep. So, I don't want to take away from what your guest is saying, but I don't want him to say either, it is no such thing. That's not so.
Okay. Thank you, Grammy Boy. GNN, Chief Stinking Goatskin, right? But
right away, darling, right away.
And so, thank you so much. And let's take this moment to see, like, I entertain callers because I know that the no is no, right? I'm trying to get to the knowledge.
The knowledge, yeah.
And I understand the ways that the systems will invisibilize voices.
Yeah.
And quiet voices. Okay, and take these.
So I wanted to go back about the dialysis, right?
Yeah.
I know someone who was on dialysis and was doing the treatment. Mm-hmm. She died, obviously. And we've known the state of PMH for how long now?
Exactly.
Like stop playing with me. Don't play with me.
The whole hospital.
Yeah, hold up, listen. Don't play with me.
Yeah.
I can be honest with y'all. Don't play with me when it comes to BMH. Come on.
Let's go to the phone line. I got 3 callers. I got to take a break. And I got 2 more songs I want to play. And then we have to give the details for the conversation that we're having on July 3rd. Good morning, caller.
I'll try to be indigenous, okay?
Yes, sir.
Bahamian, to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right? If you act like Bahamian...
Use a Bahamian.
Use a Bahamian.
Mm-hmm.
For that moment when you have on that Bahamian costume, you have been endowed with Bahamianism. Now, when you decide to go back and change to be a criminal, you're no longer Bahamian because Bahamians are not criminals. All right?
No, Uncle, hold on. Uncle. Shipwrecking, rum running.
Please, yes. Hold up. That criminality is Bahamian. That is what founded this country.
Uncle, why would you say something such a...
Hold up, no, piracy is Bahamian.
It was appropriate at that time.
Oh, okay.
See? Still alive and well today. That is Bahamian.
I got you. I just want to say how beautiful the conversation is, right? How fascinating.
My boss showed me 6 passports, and one was Bahamian, and he told me piracy is alive and well in the Bahamas, and he's a Greek.
Yeah.
So I know what is Bahamian.
Mm-hmm.
When he ready, he could act more Bahamian than you.
Let me tell you all something. Corinne Mitchell knew why she wouldn't let me off the side porch. Y'all don't let me change my life from Christ. Thank you so much, caller. Go on.
Could we sue the political party that became the government for saying something when they were attempting to convince us that they are real, and then decide to go back on and say it's not a part of our concern at this time as relates to...
I can figure out...
Yes, you can.
We can hold them to account.
Yes.
No, which court do you go? Because it can't be a local court.
No, watch this. I think that's what the conversation where Erin was talking about. We have to be the court, the people.
Yeah.
Which means that we have to watch this. We have to have integrity in that manner. We have to know. Watch this. It's all and this is what I don't. This is what I want Bahamians to get. There's a time. I mean, and I don't like. Okay, let me be succinct. I don't mind us with the drinking, with all these other things, but you also have to have the integrity.
Right.
You have to watch this. You have to be able to hold your politicians to account.
So watch this. Do you say that? I am less concerned about the people who run red lights and more concerned about the people who run red lights, hit your car, and then threaten to kill you. Right? Or they hit your car, wait for the police to come, and then go pay off the police. Accidents happen.
Yes.
Right? But it's the integrity.
It's
the missing integrity that's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, man, caller, why you said something so exciting? Let's go to the next call quickly. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. Sorry, I miss you. Let's go to the next call. Sorry. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Miss Greene. Good morning to Latino.
Morning.
No, Latinos always at the front of this social injustices, right? It was related to the court system. And, I had sent you see that article I sent you on the Iron Mountain report with Ms. Greene?
Yes, sir.
Could you share that with Latino, even though he knows a lot that's in there?
I will.
It'll actually show you. Yeah, but I wish you could play it for the public to hear, to realize, like, what we up against and the socio-economic control as relates to social justices and these farce of narratives being passed off as in the form of diversity, equity, and inclusion, climate change, pollution. All of these are a form of social control. Now, as it relates to miscegenation, et cetera, this has been going on for a while. I mean, did you know that Malcolm X's mother, Louise Little, was actually a product of being raped by a slave master or a white man? Did you know that, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is the fact that in the DNA symposium, it is known that everybody came out of Africa. So there's no stance. But as it relates to eugenics, once you have an ounce of black in you, you're still black.
Yep.
So I don't know what we're fighting for, but these things that you and Latino bring to the forefront as far as the justice system, et cetera, these type of conversations are needed. But the question becomes, when we hear from people like my schoolmate GNN, Grammy Boy, the reason why we should believe him is what horse does he have in the race? Latino or anybody come on the radio and disclose the truth. What or me?
Yeah.
What do I have to lose by coming on the radio and disclosing the truth? This is why I'm telling you this is a politician's paradise, because they know deep down inside there are a lot of imbeciles on the plantation who just waiting on crumbs to fall from master's table, Darren. Yep. And so I would just like for you at some day and time to really expose, right, the failures of the United Nations and all of these non-governmental organizations that are feeding farces and duping the whole world, just like our local politicians talking about surplus this and surplus that. Give thanks.
Thank you, 52. One more caller, text line. And I want to play this song because I have a theme. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. You there? Okay, I'm sorry we lost you, caller. So I can tell you all about the songs now, just in case I don't get to play all of them. So we started with Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is, I think, a traditional African-American song played...
They call it the Black National Anthem.
Played Juneteenth, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then I want to play Up You Mighty People by Freetown Collective, which is a Trinidadian group, which I think is a Caribbean emancipation anthem. Okay. And then I want to play Try Jesus, Don't Try Me by Tobe and Ngugunwe, because I think that's the contemporary African-American anthem right now in the face
He's
of...
an interesting artist.
A rapidly Yes, he is.
He's an interesting artist.
A rapidly changing America with the Trump administration at the helm. Let's get to the text line quickly. Good morning, Erin, and to your guests. 2 words that I would not like to hear on the campaign trail from any party is transparency and accountability. They don't know the meaning of them. Morning, Erin. I witnessed a hit and run, Beatrice Avenue near Charles W. Saunders Highway. Traffic light, a black Honda ran into the back of a lady's car, reversed and sped off. License plate was covered with a heavy tint, so was unable to get the information. They got off scot-free. Well, the Minister of National Security was on with Morning Blend, and I'm almost certain they talked about some of the new technology that's available. So what you need to do is you need to report that incident to the police so that they can activate, right? They can use the CCTV footage in the area to identify the drivers. Next test. Good morning, Ms. Greene. We need to find out why those silly people cut down the almost 20-foot tall, fully loaded sea grape tree at the prison wall a few weeks ago. Crazy. Okay, so if you say the tree is at the prison wall, it could be a security risk. Remember, we used to, the running joke, Natino, I don't know if you're old enough to know this, is I can throw you some sweet cream over the wall.
I don't know what that is.
That's what people in prison, they say, when I go, I think they used to throw things over the wall.
I mean, I can believe that. This is the
right,
Bahamas.
so it's unfortunate that they were unable to relocate the sea grape tree because they could have had a thriving industry with sea grape. Anyway, we're going to go to this break. When we get back from the break, read some more texts. We're going to contextualize the conversation. Details for July 3rd. This is Mighty People by Freetown Collective.
Son to the master, yes. Because you're powerful, inside, outside, wonderful, magical, beauty, can't hide. Me and you, never lose, trust me, can't lie. Hopeful, till the day we die. Whoa, powerful, yeah.
Wait, you know what's going down tomorrow?
Nobody, what happening?
Joe bringing the knife to school. He could do Junior in.
For what?
But he fooled with Joe girl.
Mother sick. And you know Junior don't bark down for nothing. So that means he got a big fight tomorrow.
So whose side you want?
Side? I trying to stay in school, not Simpson Pen. We gotta tell somebody about this fight.
Tell somebody. I ain't no snitch. I mean cool, you know.
Wait, if you so cool, then you need to stay in school and stay out of the fight.
Yeah, but if I don't hang on Joe's side, him and these boys coming for me next.
All right, so we definitely gotta tell somebody. We gotta prevent the fight.
What I say, I don't want nobody call me snitch.
We could just call Crime Stoppers. You could report what you know, and nobody gotta know it's you.
So how did I boy?
All you gotta do is call them, or you text them through the Crack Crime Bahamas app, and nobody can know it's you.
Then the police come looking for me for more info, and when they finish with them, Joe them coming looking for me?
When you call Crime Stoppers, the calls go directly to Miami, and they don't ask nothing about you. Then you can get the pen from them, and they can claim a reward later using that same pen.
Plus, everything's scrambled, so nobody can read what you're saying.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Where will you be 1 year from now? Deeper in debt or on the road to a brighter future? If your vision is financial freedom, BOB can help with our 2020 Vision Debt Consolidation Loan. Come experience the new BOB, our fast, easy 24-hour approvals and low loan rates. Consolidate multiple debts, reduce your total monthly payout, and start moving in the right direction. Apply today for your 2020 Vision Debt Consolidation Loan from BOB, your bank of solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
At Cleveland Clinic, care is everything. So when your primary purpose is to care for the world, you'd start with your community until you're accessible anywhere. You make complexities your specialties and put compassion before anything else, all to redefine what's possible. For everyone, everywhere. For every care in the world. Cleveland Clinic.
Good morning. Welcome back to On the Clock. Natino, let's go through the details of the event.
All right. It's called A Haunted Conversation on Bahamian Society and Identity. Erin has the long title for the paper that I've... So I submitted... this is an earlier version of this paper that I gave you was submitted to the Color, Class, and Colonialism Conference that happened in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and did that. And I enjoyed that event because we got to talk about race, class, gender,
I missed
everything.
it, and I jealous. I jealous.
You should have been there.
Yeah,
it was really good. And the future of democracy is coming up, right? But this event, we're going to be talking about the ghost that haunts Bahamian society, right? And we named some of those ghosts yesterday.
And we're talking about some of them today. Right? Like how
this dialysis
citizen
PMH is a ghost.
Right. How the citizen is becoming a ghost in this political system, in this system of governance that's supposed to center them.
Yep.
They're being decentered and ghostified.
Yep.
And they're telling people, I sell Chick-Chinese to tourists, man. Let me do that.
Yeah. So we keep talking about. So the talk we're going to be talking about is the narratives that we have that we use to create this Bahamian identity. Yeah. We're interrogating those narratives because we want to interrogate the memories, right? Yeah. One of the memories, like for example, one of the memories we talk about, like, okay, we have Selena is the first black premier. We're like, is that really accurate? Right.
So Milo Butler is the first governor general. Not accurate, right?
All of these things we're interrogating to see whether these things are really accurate because maybe we missed some of the details. And so as we have these conversations, it's going to be held at the University of the Bahamas in Franklin Wilson Building on July 3rd. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The cost is $20, right? Yeah. It's supposed to help towards sustaining, and I want to do more conversations like this.
So it's to build the platform so we could continue doing the conversations.
Yes.
Also, intellectual labor is labor.
Yes.
And we don't want to we don't want to acknowledge that with our students and young people. intellectual labor is labor and it should be compensated, right? And for adults, right, like you are enslaving your young people, right, because you want them to do intellectual labor for you without you compensating them for it or without you even acknowledging that it's them that did the labor. It's them that inspired you to expand your thought, whether it's through conflict, right, or struggle, or just pure joy and interaction. Okay, so we're all out of time, Latino. I want to say thank you very much for the conversation this morning. We didn't even get to the liquor...
being 700 feet or something?
The alcohol regulations, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get to that yet, but that's another ghost, right? Because that legislation existed, yet there's still liquor stores right next to some schools, right? And so that's a ghost as well. Anyway, this is the third song for Juneteenth today, and I think perhaps right now it is the African American national anthem. Happy Juneteenth to my cousins, and remember, Saltwater Underground Railroad is always open, it's always running. You could do it legally now. You could do it legally now. I just saying, whatever the law is about. Y'all have a great day. Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Nuri is up next.
Try Jesus. Don't try me. 'Cause I throw hands. Try Jesus. Please don't try me. Because I fight. Oh, you said, turn the other cheek. Oh, but this one part of the Bible that just don't sit right with me. So try Jesus. Please don't try me.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.